Here we are, Mark.
Best friend, right here. Go to the hardware store. These things are like $1. It's referred to as an acid brush or a flux brush. Yeah, this guy right here saves your fingers. You don't have to wear latex gloves. Just uses a little paintbrush.
What kind of glue are you using there?
I am a big fan of Vittoria Mastic.
Got it.
I also like Continental. It's basically the same stuff. Not a big fan of any of the opaque. There's a couple of different brands that make like that orange stuff you can't see through. It's a little too hard and crumbly. You know, use what you got to use in a pinch, but I'm not a big fan.
Cool.
3M Fast Tack. You know, same kind of thing. Use it in a pinch if that's the only thing you can get, but it's really aggressive stuff. And if you use it once and then you get a flat and you're sitting on the side of the road trying to yank a tire off, you're never going to get that thing off. I shouldn't say never, but it's overkill for these kind of applications. 3M or Vittoria Mastic. Whew.
Nice.
Okay. First step here, we're just going to soak the base tape. These happen to be Continental tires, which are just a raw cotton base tape. They don't have any glue already soaked into them. So we're just going to coat the base tape. It's going to soak in pretty fast. By the time we get about halfway done, this side's already going to be dry, probably.
And you're working right on the bead, is that correct?
We're going to soak the whole base tape. The base tape is this wide.
Okay.
So we're just going to soak the whole base tape.
Gotcha. So as you're doing that, maybe you could talk a little bit about common mistakes people make that you've observed?
Well, common mistakes that I see are using either way too much or not nearly enough glue. Anytime you're using glue, you need to use at least enough that you're completely coating the surface. You know, a little dab here and there, that's not gonna hold it on. Now, it may make the tire easier to get off, but easier to get off also means easier to come off when you least expect it.
Okay.
The other side of that issue is too much glue. Too much glue means it takes a lot longer for it to set up, and again, it's just kind of overkill. You don't need anything more than enough. A nice thin layer is, as long as it's evenly applied, is plenty to do the job.
Okay. Is there any reason to do a second coat?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, depending on what kind of glue you're using, and also how thick of a layer you're putting on originally. Many tires come with the base tape pre-glued in that it already has a layer of glue saturated into it. This being a Continental, it doesn't happen to be pre-glued. If, like for example, Vittoria, that happens to be one of the standards out there, I still put a layer like this on it. More than anything, just as a protection. Don't put nearly as thick a layer as I'm putting on here. It's really just a micro coating. It also depends on the purpose. A road tire undergoes very different stresses than a cross tubular does. A skinny, high pressure tire has very little chance of coming off anyway. I mean, no matter what kind of glue job you do. Whereas a cross tire has lower pressure, it's a fatter diameter, and there's a lot more rolling stress on a cross tire. So you definitely need to make sure and glue that guy on properly. If you make a little mistake on a road tire, and I need to hesitate when I say this, but chances are it's not going to roll off on you. But then again, it might.
It's just less likely.
Yeah, I mean, so the process you go through with gluing on a cross tire is a little bit different. You use more glue. I usually use an extra layer of glue.
Okay, so there you do a second coat usually?
Actually, what I end up doing is a third coat on the rim as opposed to just 2 coats on the rim.
Gotcha.
It's just easier to apply. It ends up doing about the same thing. There are also those who prefer the Belgian method, which I don't mind. It's the Belgian method is definitely a very strong way. It's not necessary for road tires, but what the Belgian method refers to is using a layer of tape in between the layers of glue. It's a different kind of tape. It's not the Tufo tubular tape. Doesn't have glue. Well, it's not as thick and gummy like the Tufo tape is. Not a big fan of Tufo tape. Again, great in an emergency, but not for everyday use.
Gotcha.
The biggest, I guess one of the other mistakes that I think people make in glue and tubulars is, well, A, not pre-stretching the tire. That can be a major pain if you don't stretch it.
You recommend minimum 24 hours stretch, correct?
Yeah, it also depends on which tire, too. I mean, if you have experience with a particular brand or particular model of tire and you already know what to expect from it, then okay. I'll tell you straight up that Continental, they need to be stretched. A minimum of 24 hours. I'm sure, Dan, you can attest to that, is how
Yep.
hard it was to get it on without any glue. Imagine what that would have been like with glue involved.
It was a finger and hand workout.
Yeah, yeah. Now, other brands that have a little more flexible base tape, like Challenge or Data, both of those are great tires. They're a little more flexible base tapes, and those you really don't even need to stretch them. And even if you did try to stretch them, they're not really going to stretch because they're already pretty flexible.
So here at your shop, do you do a lot of gluing, a lot of tubular mounts?
Glue a lot of tubulars, yeah.
During a busy race season,
Mhm.
how many might you do?
I'd say probably on average throughout the whole year, I would say I probably glue an average of one set per week for a year. So
It's quite a bit.
obviously
Adds
certain
up.
times a year do more. But yeah, I end up gluing a lot of tubulars. It's kind of fun actually. It's
Yeah.
nice and relaxing.
It seems kind of old school.
Yeah, it certainly can be. Other than the fact that these days mostly gluing onto carbon rims.
Right, right. Is there any danger or any problem with getting glue on the sides, the side walls, or on the sides off the base layer?
Well, it certainly can happen. I mean, if you were to take a close-up of this tire, you're probably going to find that my brush slipped a little and I got a little glue on the side. But that stuff we're going to clean up later.
Gotcha. What do you use to clean that up?
Everybody's friend, acetone. Acetone is the solvent that's in this glue already.
I see.
So it's the acetone that evaporates and makes this glue hard. So it'll also re-liquefy the stuff that gets on the rim and gets on the side of the tire. And it's not really going to hurt anything there. It kind of looks ugly and can pick up dirt, but it's not doing any damage. I guess the other thing I'll say is, especially if it's your first set of tubulars, wear old clothes. Because tubular glue, you guys remember that cartoon, The Jungle Book? Tar
Yeah.
Baby. This stuff will turn you tar baby real fast. After you've done a few and you get the technique down, you probably won't get yourself all crusty. But yeah, you will the first couple of times. But that's part of the fun. All right, first layer of glue, we're going to set this tire to the side. Do you want to do one complete wheel or because normally I would do this tire next.
Yeah, I can pause it. You can do that one.
Yeah.